Here we go with the Monday evening edition of Weather for Weather Geeks, my in-depth weather video. We always take a look at not only the short term, but the longer range trends as well. Certainly in the short term, storms are the big story, not necessarily locally, but across much of the country. It's been a very busy 24 hours for storm reports. Look at all the wind damage extending from Minnesota right down through parts of the Midwest and down into the central Appalachians. This you can probably, if you want to, classify this squall line that's down in the southeast right now as a derecho, although there are technical definitions that need to be met in order for something to be a derecho. Let the data load here. It's very busy down here in the Carolinas and Virginia this evening, but this thing originated up near the U.S.-Canadian border, has traveled all the way down into North Carolina and Virginia. At the very least, it's a mesoscale convective system. MCS is what we call those. But whatever you decide to call it, it doesn't matter. The effects are the effects, and that was a big problem earlier today for many people in the Midwest and Ohio Valley. Now we're awaiting round two out across parts of Illinois, Wisconsin, into Missouri. A slew of tornado and severe thunderstorm watches and warnings out there. Another complex of storms is going to dive down kind of in the same general area that had it earlier on today. Maybe a little farther west with this one, but going to be another very busy night. All right, as far as locally, we've had a little bit, and I mean a little bit, of light rain. Let's show you a more zoomed in radar view here as I record this at about 7:30 p.m. Not going to spend a lot of time on this because most of you will be watching this well afterwards. But yeah, we had a little period of light rain between 6 and 8 roughly this evening. There's no lightning and thunder with this. And behind this, probably going to be a nice sunset this evening, as we do have some clearing going on from west to east. And this should line up pretty well with the sunset to give us a nice little show here as we go towards 8:45, 9 o'clock this evening. So that's a good thing. Otherwise, it's warm and it's humid. Temperatures this evening are in the upper 70s to around 80. The dew points are in the upper 60s to around 70 degrees. All right, let's, as always, start out with our short-term model here and focus on the near term, largely tonight and tomorrow. As we go through the night tonight, here's a look at the simulated radar, and let's go forward a couple of hours here. About 10 p.m., our showers are pushed east. There's that next big complex out across Indiana and Illinois. As you get up tomorrow morning, Tuesday morning, if you're a real early riser, here's 5 a.m. Again, rain to the south. Might be a shower here locally tomorrow morning, but it'll be pretty hit or miss. Most of us missing it. Here's 8 o'clock in the morning. Yeah, there's just not much going on. But as we get into the afternoon tomorrow, a cold front's going to approach. Now, this isn't the strongest front in the world, as is typical of July. Usually fronts aren't that strong at this time of the year. But it is going to head into a fairly unstable air mass. And I do expect activity to start ramping up as we go into the mid-afternoon tomorrow. Here's the NAM showing a scattering of showers and storms across Ohio, parts of Pennsylvania as well. Don't take this literally. The storms are not likely to be in exactly the places that the model is depicting right here. But I think we've got a good shot at seeing some widespread activity for tomorrow afternoon. Certainly the instability is going to be there. Here's a look at the CAPE values on the NAM tomorrow, suggesting up to 2,000 joules. Now, the NAM always tends to run a little high with this. GFS is more towards 1,000, but that's enough CAPE, convective available potential energy, instability, if you will. That's certainly enough to get some showers and some thunderstorms going for tomorrow afternoon. Notice how high the CAPE values are again down in parts of the Ohio River Valley, the mid-Mississippi Valley as well. As far as the Storm Prediction Center risk tomorrow, the risk zones, this will take a second to load up. Most of our area is in what they call the marginal risk of severe weather tomorrow. That's this darker green right here. You get down into the slight risk in the yellow, that's southern Ohio. And then a marginal risk exists again tomorrow for parts of the Tennessee Valley down into the Carolinas. So low risk tomorrow, what's that mean? I think there's going to be scattered storms tomorrow afternoon. Severe weather, it's not going to be a big severe weather day, but a couple of storms could turn severe with damaging winds being the main threat. And I am concerned with all the juice in the atmosphere that if these storms tend to go over the same areas a couple of times, we could have some flash flooding problems. Of course, our ground is still pretty saturated, so we definitely don't need any more rain. But again, tomorrow is going to be a pretty active day. Well, the rest of the week, there is some good news here, not only for the Trumbull County Fair, but anything else going on outdoors. By Wednesday morning, the showers have faded away. Clouds may start the day Wednesday, but by the afternoon, looks beautiful. Dew points will be dropping Wednesday, and high pressure building in from the north and west. That high pressure zone by Wednesday afternoon over Michigan and into Wisconsin. It's going to build almost right overhead by Wednesday night. Very comfortable Wednesday night for July. I mean, open up the windows well down into the 50s. And then Thursday looks like a fantastic day. Here's Thursday afternoon, nothing going on, sunshine in abundance for Thursday with high pressure over Buffalo and Toronto. All right, on Friday, as we wrap up the week, now the GFS would suggest that clouds might increase in the afternoon, and there might be a low chance of a shower or a thunderstorm before Friday is through. I did not include that in my forecast. I tend to think this is maybe a little too aggressive. I think there is a better chance of showers and storms over the weekend, and even that's going to be spotty. This is Saturday. You see some green here, but this is not an all-day washout or anything. There's going to be a spotty shower or a storm around on Saturday. And so one thing for sure, this weekend is going to turn pretty warm. Here's the GFS Saturday showing about 88 for a high, and I think that's probably in the ballpark. Look at all the heat across the eastern two-thirds of the country Saturday. I mean, that is some serious hot weather. There's going to be triple-digit heat out in the middle of the country, parts of Kansas, maybe 105, 108. On Saturday afternoon. That is really serious heat. And then here on Sunday, that could even be warmer for us. As we get into the afternoon Sunday, zoom back in, GFS would suggest 91, 92. Now that might be a little too high, but I could see 89 or 90 on Sunday. So finally going to get some hot weather for a couple of days. I don't think a heat wave's coming. I don't think this is going to last a week, and we're not going to get to 95 or anything like that. But some of the more consistently warm weather of the season so far late this week and heading into the weekend. And that's because if you look at the upper level pattern here, here's Friday of this week. Our ridge is still down here across the southern tier of states, but notice the lack of a trough now in the northeast. You know, when we've had these at or below average days, temperature-wise, usually there's been a dip in the jet stream or a trough in the northeast. An absence of that means that our airflow can come out of the west instead of the northwest. So all of this hot air out here can get transported east. Now it's going to be modified, but that lack of trough finally means it's going to turn pretty darn warm here. And that'll continue into early next week, and then I think as we go towards the middle and latter portions of next week, here's the 23rd, next Thursday, you start to see a little troughiness developing around the Great Lakes, and that'll curb the heat. Not going to be cool, but it'll probably curb the heat back to about average for mid-July, which is in the lower 80s. So if you break this down by chunks in the longer range, here's the 5-day period from the 18th to the 23rd. Above average temperatures, commonplace across the Midwest, the Great Lakes, and you average it out, it'll probably be pretty close to average or normal or average during that 5-day chunk from the 18th to the 23rd for our part of the country. And that's because next week will start warm and then cool, average it out, and it's kind of a wash. As then we look at the next 5-day chunk. This is from the evening of the 20th through the evening of the 25th. That 5-day chunk. We might start to rebound again. So maybe a brief cool down end of next week, and then the next 5-day chunk, we could be above average again. So, I talked about at the beginning of this month that July is likely to be close to average overall temperature-wise. Right now we're about 2 degrees below average. We're going to make up some of that ground here over the next couple of weeks. So the second half of July promises to be quite a bit warmer than the first half. And this is par for the course. Usually our hottest 10-day period of the year is right about right now, from July 10th through the 20th, climatologically speaking. That's usually about the hottest part of the year. It can certainly get hot after that, but when you look at the numbers throughout all of history, it all boils down to this being the heart of summer from about the 10th through the 20th. All right, thanks for watching the Monday Night Weather for Weather Geeks. More radar updates and everything else you need to know on Facebook and Twitter this evening, and I'll have a full update on the 7-day forecast tonight on 21 News at 11. Have a great Monday night.